This is the Vision with Execution show. My name is Adam Torkildson. This is my 12th episode I've ever recorded, and Romney Williams is my guest today. We met briefly a few months ago via a connection on CEO.com. They randomly connected us because the AI thought we'd be great guys to have a chat together, and it turned out the AI was right. So I thought Romney is a great guy who impressed me on a lot of levels last time we talked. And he is the CEO of a company called DryOut. And I want to definitely give him an opportunity to talk about what that is and why I think it's a pretty cool technology. I'm a big fan of guns and the military and big proud supporter of our country. And I think DryOut is another great example of a great American made company helping in that area as well. So Romney, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'd love it if you'd take a minute or two and talk about what DryOut is and what it does and who it's for.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. And really glad we could reconnect. So thanks again for reaching back out. Love talking about vision and execution. So DryOut, I would be willing to bet that everybody listening to this has had a problem with moisture damage to electronics, whether it's the phone that falls in the water, the earbuds that you leave in your pocket and they go through the wash, the key fob that falls in the snow, or anything metal that will rust or corrode. And that, as you mentioned, that can include firearms or ammo or tools. So moisture is really bad. And it turns out that 79% of people surveyed in America have experienced moisture damage to their smartphone. So it's a thing, it's a problem we think about. You hear about the hack of, oh, we'll put your wet phone if you tried a bowl of rice. Well, that's a hack that somehow got made up and perpetuated, but it does not work. And it's actually, they're very limited benefit other than maybe adding some starch into your phone and jamming the charging port with a grain of rice. So the story goes, I'm of the opinion that most great startups have a really strong why and a great founding story. We'll come back to the why later, but the founding story was Elliot Harris was in Florida 8 years ago, and he had that oh crap moment with a wet phone. He raced to Best Buy hoping, please tell me you've got something that will save my phone. And they said, we don't, but we've heard about this hack called a bowl of rice. So he tried it, didn't work, made it worse because he did get the grain of rice in the charging port, so couldn't even back it up. And 2 days later, he was sitting there at home lamenting about his $1,200 iPhone he had to replace. And this crazy thing, he was wearing a moisture wicking shirt and he was eating a bag of beef jerky. And as he finished what was inside the bag, he pulled out the last remaining thing, and it was the little silica gel packet that says do not eat. And he had this light bulb moment. What if I create a pouch that is made of a material sandwich of what I'm wearing, this moisture wicking nylon, and impregnate it with silica gel in the middle? Would that save my phone? Would it pull the moisture out before it can start causing damage? Turns out the answer is yes. And even cooler than that, from a business perspective, is fast forward 11 months, he actually patented it. So the initial product, the genesis was a wet electronics rescue pouch that solves that problem with moisture getting in. Again, it could be even hearing aids, it could be anything that gets wet that's electronic, where you'll have short circuits. It's reusable, it's electricity free, it's mobile, obviously. And so he embarked on this consumer product journey as a really scrappy, gritty entrepreneur, and fully on his own, just learning it, School of Hard Knocks. And he also is a firearm enthusiast, and he lives in the Southeast United States. And if you've ever been there, it's really humid most of the year. And that introduces a problem for rust and corrosion. So, and even humidity that's, left inside or on a weapon can start to oxidize or becomes rust and corrosion. Huge problem. And then he had this aha moment of, wow, what we could do is we could take this material that we used for a pouch and we can make a gun bag. And yes, I like to show and tell because it's easier to show than just tell, but this is a handgun bag that's engineered with the DryOut material. So it looks like a normal handgun bag. Put anything wet in there and the moisture starts coming out overnight. And so it's protection and rescue from moisture damage. So huge, huge breakthrough with patent protection. When I joined 3.5 years ago, and you want to talk about vision, really interesting how we had this intersection of my background with what Elliot had invented and was doing. And that was a much bigger opportunity. The vision was, let's don't be a consumer product brand. Let's be the Gore-Tex of moisture removal. So let's be that ingredient brand in thousands of products, partner with brands and manufacturers, help them make their current products better. Laptop bag, laptop sleeve, right? Camera gear bag, hearing aid clamshells. Start thinking about everything you own, a tool bag, a violin case that could be lined with the material to wick moisture out. So this huge pain point that causes billions of dollars of damage every year. And we found ourselves at this really unique moment where we could actually help address that problem by working with brands. So when I joined, that was the vision that I pitched to Elliot and the board, and they were all in, really excited. And so fast forward, we spent the last several years actually executing on business model number one, which was selling pouches to consumers, selling gun bags to retail dealers, sporting good dealers. And we sold 90,000 units in these different categories. So we proved in this concept of product market fit. We're not a technology looking for a home, trying to find a consumer. We found it and it works. People learn about it, they really like it, and they need it, and they use it with great benefit. But the opportunity being much bigger of let's be the Gore-Tex of moisture removal, we've been evolving. I wouldn't call it a pivot, more of an evolution, a graduation to this OEM ingredient brand model. And so that's where we've really been focusing to partner with different brands to help them design and launch products under their own brand with DryOut as like the Gore-Tex.
Okay, that is a lot of stuff for me to process in, and you just say it so naturally and so smoothly, and I know you've thought about this a lot. This is
Yeah,
what you live this 24/7,
yeah,
and I can totally tell. So one of the things that stood out to me, and this is based on conversations I've had with Paul Allen, who's the founder of Ancestry.com.
yeah.
I invested in one of his companies, and I had him on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he's that same principle of being the underlying technology that powers products or services in a bunch of different verticals.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's doing, but he's doing it with an AI technology that his team created. So when I hear two smart people thinking about uh, their product or service and selling it into those verticals that way, then I tend to start paying a little bit more attention
Hmm.
to that sort of a principle. So I'm guessing number one, you and Paul didn't necessarily invent that particular model, but I am curious how you came up with that as a vision and strategy. What was your inspiration to go that route?
Yeah. Well, we see I'm not as intelligent as Paul, and I actually listened to that video interview did with him. Really smart guy. We met years ago. I don't expect him to remember me, but I learned a lot. So thanks for sharing that with the world. So that business model of being an ingredient brand or an embedded technology in other people's products, I first learned about it when I was really early in my career, and I had been bitten by the entrepreneurial bug, and I very serendipitously met up with a whiz kid student at MIT. It was actually through my church congregation in Boston, Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts. And his master's thesis cracked a huge nut or solved a huge problem in the world of photography. So back then, I'm old enough, and some of your viewers might be as well, that there was a time we remember where film camera existed, digital did not. And his master's thesis solved this big problem from making a digital camera, an image sensor that sits behind the lens, the image quality good enough that can adapt like the human eye does to different lighting conditions or like film does. So he and three professors embarked on a really cool journey, raised money in Japan, and they had this vision for let's be the Intel inside a digital camera. And the end goal was to be in what they called at the time intelligent transportation systems. Now it's the cameras in your car. When you put your car in reverse, you see on the screen adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, night vision, all these technologies that were a big dream for this team of really, really smart, highly visionary people at MIT. They launched a company with that business model. So the idea was, let's be the Intel inside a digital camera for cars, for what became smartphones, for, of course, digital cameras, security cameras, and so forth. Now, my kids can't even imagine probably 5 minutes of their life not being influenced by a digital camera, like TikTok, Instagram, Zoom, Google Meet, all of it. It's amazing. It's everywhere. So I took a page out of that playbook for DryOut, where it's, hey, let's not just be an ingredient in someone else's finished good product, but let's also partner with them to grow the brand of the technology, right? We all learned about Intel Inside through Dell and other computer companies. That's what we're doing, just as Gore-Tex established its brand by finding itself on a North Face ski jacket, a Columbia raincoat, right? Running shoes by Solomon. So that becomes the billboard, which is a really cool fringe benefit.
Yeah, because you're building with brands that already have very strong consumer trust
Right.
and value, and you just get it associated with them immediately.
Yeah.
That's huge. I love that. And I guess if we were to coin it as the concept, we'd call it the Intel Inside Playbook, I guess,
That's right.
for lack of a better term.
Absolutely is. And so through that lens, we're very deliberate in, from a brand positioning standpoint and brand alignment, that when we partner with a brand, it needs to be, for sure, ideally it's brand accretive to us, where they're premium, and that makes us, the obviously the feeling that we must be premium as well, and definitely can't be brand dilutive to us. So we have a lot of really cool partnerships in the works. I can't announce any right now, but we have some really cool things going on, from, believe it or not, the world of kayaks. So, maritime water recreation, to partnering with protective hard case manufacturers that you would use for cameras, video gear, weapons, computers, so forth. And the military uses a lot of them, millions of cases for transporting different goods, from drones to servers to night vision goggles. So we have so much opportunity. We're really excited about it.
Okay, so maybe you can't answer this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Will some of your technology be going to Mars anytime soon?
That's funny. Not that I'm aware, but we were told by NASA that, I didn't know this. So there's something called FOD. I'm not a big acronym fan, but foreign object debris in space can be really dangerous, right? Obviously, an asteroid or a particle of one that can collide with obviously a spacecraft of some form. But inside a, whatever it is, inside when you're in space, a shuttle or whatever, is a droplet of water freezes and can become a bullet. Think about that. So moisture's a problem.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, crazy.
Didn't even think of that.
Neither did I.
I was just like, Elon Musk is somebody who, for better or worse, people hate him or love him, it seems like, but
Yeah.
I love him, and I think his brain works in such a unique way, and I love how unapologetic he is about everything he puts out there publicly. But what the guy is,
execution, which you focus on, right? He's huge vision and insanely fast execution, willing to break things, but also committed to fixing it, making it better.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You took the words right out of my mouth. No worries. He is one of those people that he's going to be an iconic part of history for the rest of the time that there's an America on the earth. He's going to be part of that history, just like Thomas Edison, who coined the phrase vision without execution is hallucination.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired the name of my show. Vision with execution is reality. And I love how Elon Musk is actually making that work in front of everyone's eyes as we speak.
I do too. And I heard some of his, that, I don't know if you call it a press conference, but when he was in the Oval Office yesterday next to President Trump, being ask questions. One, I admire he's willing to be open in public, because obviously it's very controversial for some what he's doing. But I love that he talked about change, and one of the core elements he talked about was caring. And if you read Elon Musk's book, that was an element, I think, of his actions and motives that was not an underlying theme, I would say, at the risk of sounding too critical, was the caring element of, the human side of what we're doing. So I really appreciate that he's making that a priority, because that is actually extremely important to me. I think about the core values of our company. It's the 4 H's. It's humble, hungry, happy, and honest. And it's all about the core of the human that joins a team, and we become stronger as we lock arms. So I do admire Elon for his vision, his execution, but I'm happy to hear there's also a caring human side to it as well. Not to pontificate, but that's really important to me. Results are extremely important. Winning, there's no greater fun than winning, but winning as a team.
Yeah. Totally agree. One of the other things you mentioned, and this has nothing to do with technology or being a CEO, or you would not think that being a member of a church group would have anything to do with business or creating visions and then executing them into reality. But I would contend, and I say this on every one of my shows, that having a spiritual side to yourself, and I've never articulated it this way exactly, but as I go through each show, this is becoming more and more of a clear thing for me. But growing up a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we're taught that we can ask God for help, for questions that we have, for help with anything that we want to ask him for. And we do that through prayer. And prayer, for me, there's a lot of mental imagination going on when I'm saying a prayer. And that's how I personally create my own visions, is I'm thinking, I'm studying, I'm imagining it in my head, looking, trying to imagine what that would actually look like in reality. And prayer to my higher power, which is God, is a critical part of that. And I know whether you don't, I don't know if you've articulated this to yourself or not as well, but
Yeah, I
I
agree
know
wholeheartedly.
for you, you mentioned, being a member of the faith church
Yeah,
group, and that's you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ as well.
yes,
Um, I just love men and women who can say directly what they believe and how that influences their ability to create visions. Because if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for everything. I've heard
that's
that
right.
said. So whether or not someone is a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist or even an agnostic, you've got to believe that there's some other higher power operating this universe that we live in. And once you can believe that, then you can unlock your ability to create visions and then execute on them.
I couldn't agree more with you. I admire that you're willing to talk on that level, because I feel the same way, and it's really a part of who it is, the core of who I am. And my beliefs and my faith have really anchored me. It's interesting because on one hand, I feel anchored. On the other, I feel like it's a catalyst and a catapult to go farther and faster and higher. And the direction becomes more clear because I strive to view it through a lens of faith and relying on God to guide me. Now, I make mistakes along the way. I get lots of bumps and bruises, and those sometimes I believe are, wisdom is applied knowledge, and I have wisdom for my pain, and God lets me make mistakes. And his providence, I believe, is the wind at my back as I'm getting back up and trying to keep moving forward. And he's also guiding me right to where I should be going. So I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me. And I also am of the opinion, strong belief, that God created all of us to be creators. And you see that a lot in, I look at my wife and my mother, and some of the most amazing people who I know are these women who we're part of the creation of life and raising our kids in a way that influencing them in a way that I haven't been able to. And that's just creator on the next level. Just unbelievable. It's just amazing. As entrepreneurs, we have this drive to create something and to lock arms with people who are also creators. We can co-create something that's hopefully really meaningful and impactful and benefits lives and grows an industry and affects the economy and provides great jobs. And if there's a why that has a service bent to it, we can really make a big impact. And that's important to us. We actually are a mission-driven company. So we exist. Our mission is, it's long, but I think it's hopefully clear. We exist to help rescue things that shouldn't get wet, so that we can help rescue people who struggle with mental health challenges. And we focus in that bucket of those who struggle with mental health challenges. We have particular focus on children and veterans. And there's a lot of need for a lot of help. And sometimes it's just looking someone in the eye and saying, I can tell you're really down and I'm really sorry. And just being there for them.
Yeah, I think that's commendable on a couple of levels. My brother and sister are both vets. One is Navy, one is Air Force.
Cool.
I almost went into the armed forces myself, but instead decided to serve a mission.
Yeah.
Um, I don't regret serving a mission by any means, but I've got enough patriotism in my body that
I
I could
love
have
it.
easily come home and went straight into the armed forces. Either way, those folks who dedicate their lives to doing that for 4, 8, 16, however many years, they deserve our support and our respect
Oh yeah.
every single time without fail. And I love that that's part of your company's mission. It's making me tear up a little bit.
Well, yeah, but it has meaning and it's a catalyst and it drives us. And I've learned from people who are smarter than me and who have bigger hearts than I do, that being grounded and driven by a why as a company, whether you're a company of one or a company of 1,000 or 100,000 people, to have a true why behind it does become the catalyst. And then to layer on that values that are non-negotiables, you would never deviate from them, you would never abandon them, even if it meant failing and closing up shop as a company. Having a board, having investors that support that before they put money in, understand that. And yeah, so being very, very mission driven. And by the way, you asked about vision for the year. So we work backwards from our 10-year BHAG, or the big, hairy, audacious goal, that the Mount Everest that we aspire to climb, we may never reach, and it's not quantifiable, but is for DryOut to be in every household in North America, to protecting every member of the armed forces and every first responder. And that's been really exciting for us to see the traction that we're getting, not just with consumer brands, where it'll show up in an Apple store to, eventually to protect a wet phone or AirPods that go through the wash accidentally, but also in the military, to be able to provide gear, a night vision goggle pouch, a pouch for communications gear, a gun sleeve that helps protect the warfighter or the soldier that's protecting our freedoms, is a really, really big deal. And I happen to have some samples here, obviously. This is a night vision goggle pouch that looks like a normal night vision goggle pouch, as people in the Army or Air Force would be familiar with, but it has DryOut inside. We call it DryOutizing. Has DryOut inside, and that's a $5,000 pair of night vision goggles. Stick it in there at night. There's moisture on or in it. Could be sweat, could be rain, could be condensation. That can cause cloudiness, right? Issues inside the night vision goggles, and their lives are on the line. It needs to work. So I love knowing that at night, by putting that mission critical gear in there, it pulls moisture out and helps them perform their job and keep them safe. It's really, it's been very gratifying to see that, and we're close to some really big deals in that category. So it's exciting.
That is super exciting. Um, I could probably talk to you for hours about this, but I like having shows that are about 30 minutes long, and
Yeah.
we're almost to that point. But um, I have learned something from this episode personally, and that's always my number one goal, is to try and become a little bit smarter and more elevated, and also I feel like I've been able to connect with you a little bit better, which
Yeah,
is
likewise. I appreciate it.
it's
Really do.
always a secondary goal of mine because I'm a recovering addict. I think I mentioned that before.
Yeah.
And the opposite of addiction is connection. So I'm always striving for that whenever I have conversations with people, and you have to be more vulnerable than average to make that happen.
I love how real you are. And thank you for sharing that because it's inspiring and it gives people permission to realize, one, I've got my own past that might be, fraught with challenges and things I maybe wish I'd done differently, but I'm stronger for it and I'm not alone. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I really do.
Good. Well, it's been my pleasure to have you on,
Thank you.
and I hope we'll see DryOut explode over the coming years, and
Yeah,
I'm going to
me
keep
too.
watching it. So if anybody who's watching the show, reach out to Romney. He's really good at connecting. I connected with him on LinkedIn. I don't
Yeah.
know if there's an easier way, but you've been a super responsive, easy guy to connect with. So it's
LinkedIn's a great way to do it. I think I'm the only Romney Williams on there that I'm aware of. And then dryout.com, DRYOUT, you can follow the journey. We have better and better content every month. We're doing a lot with a little. Great team, by the way. This is an amazing team. There are, yeah, world-class people that I've had the chance to lock arms with. It's great.
awesome. Well, this has been an episode of the Vision with Execution show. My name's Adam Torkildson. My guest, Romney Williams. Thanks, everybody. And until next time,
Thank you. Sure appreciate it. See ya.
thanks, Romney. Bye bye.
Thank you.